Hello and a heartily welcome to this new video. Today's topic, it will be all about our heart. And my name is Domenika and I'm glad you're here with me to explore this topic in more detail. When we talk about the heart, most people think about biology. What is the heart there for? Well, it pumps blood through our body and it basically delivers oxygen to every cell in our body. It delivers nutrients and that's it, right? Well, I think the heart is far more than just an organ, and that's what I want to talk to you today. First of all, I think when we think about the heart on a personal level, when we have some time to think about that, we think that the heart is more, because with the heart we can express our feelings, we can express our emotions, we can express ourselves, because the heart is kind of like our true self. So we feel compassion, we feel appreciation, we share our love, we show our care, and that's all. These are all qualities of the heart. So I think the heart isn't just an organ. I think the heart is much, much more. And it starts already in the beginning. When new life is created, we have two people coming together. Something magical happens. And then when these small cells grow, the first thing that gets established is the heart. And then the miracle in itself is that this heart out of nowhere begins beating. I mean, there's no outside thing or there's nothing that scientists can say, this is it, then a heart starts beating. It's something really, really magical. New life is born. And the funny thing is, the heart exists before the brain in this new little human being. And I find that really, really fascinating. So new life is created out of nowhere and out of nothing. And it's so amazing, because it shows that the heart plays a really, really important role in our life, in us as a human being. Okay? And I want to actually talk to you today more about the heart communication techniques, so to speak. So our heart is communicating via 4 different ways, and I want to explore with you what these 4 ways are, because I think there are a couple of things there that will really surprise you. Okay, first thing is, we all know our brain is very important, because it is the central nervous system, and we have the peripheral nervous system, which communicates through all the body, so that information can be exchanged through cells and the brain in our body. But what most people don't know is that not just our tummy, our colon, has its own nervous system, but also our heart has its own nervous system. So that's very interesting, because one would think, well, the brain sends some signals down to the heart. You have to beat faster, you have to beat slower, and that's it. But no, our heart has its own nervous system, and in studies it has been shown that our heart is sending much more information to our brain than the other way around. So we can actually use the nervous system of the heart to actually talk to the nervous system in our brain. And we can actually get this feeling in our heart through meditation, for example, to actually slow down our brain and get our brain more coherent, in that it functions better, that we feel better in a way. That's really, really cool. So our heart is actually sending much more information to the brain than the other way around. Okay, that's a neurological function. The second way our heart is communicating is a biophysical one. And everybody knows that. Our our heart is pumping blood through the body. And what you can measure that on the pulse, yeah, it's no problem. You can measure that in certain parts of the body. And what that does is basically each time the heart contracts, it's pushing the blood out through the body, and it's like a wave, yeah? It's like a wave, an energy wave that goes through the body, and that sends information to the body. Because the amount of time it takes to go through the body and how quickly the heart is pumping and so on, it does actually influence our body. So there are actually studies out there that show that our heart is using the blood pressure to communicate to our brain. Because when we have certain feelings in our heart, yeah, and our heart pumps in a certain way, that actually influences how our brain is functioning, how the electricity signals in our brain are working. I try to picture it that way. So, for example, if I'm feeling happy, if I'm really feeling content with this situation, joyful, cheerful, I'm really having fun, I'm really in the moment, then I'm having positive feelings, I'm having positive thoughts. But if I'm really kind of like annoyed, frustrated, distracted, then the heart is beating in a different kind of way. And also our functionality in the brain is very chaotic, very negative, pessimistic thoughts will come. Yeah? So this is kind of my picture for understanding how the heart influences the brain here. Okay, the third way of communication from the heart is a very, very interesting one, because our heart is actually part of the hormonal system of our body. And you're saying, oh, wait a minute, hormones? Yes, it's true. Our heart can actually produce certain hormones in our body. Yeah. So one of the very interesting ones is called atrial peptide. And atrial peptide is a hormone that actually counteracts the response of cortisol in our body. So you know, cortisol is a stress hormone which basically regulates our stress response, and the atrial peptide can actually dampen the effect, because we don't want to run on stress levels, very high cortisol levels through the whole day. Yeah, we don't want to be stressed about everything and just go around and our immune system shuts down and our gut functions have problems and so on. And therefore it's very, very important to actually reduce that stress response, and we do that with atrial peptide. And how do we do that? For example, through meditation. Yeah, meditation is a wonderful way to actually get the stress response down, and that happens through atrial peptide. Yeah, or mindfulness exercises. It's another way that works really, really, really well. So that's one hormone. The other one that you may know is oxytocin. Oxytocin, what does that? Well, oxytocin is basically a relationship hormone. So, for example, when you're freshly in love and you're really thinking, oh wow, he is the one or she is the one, then you have this hormone flooding through your body, and it comes from the heart. It's so amazing. Don't we actually feel that love comes from the heart? Well, it's true. It comes from the heart. The heart is producing that hormone. Or a newborn child, and the mother looks at this child for the first time. It's just this, there are huge levels of oxytocin that get flooded through the blood in that moment in time, and because it's so important to have this bonding between the newborn and the mother. Yeah, so it's really, really interesting. Our heart is responsible for that response. Isn't that cool? Well, the next one, the fourth way of communication of our heart, is really, really interesting, because most people just don't know. The thing is, our heart is an electrical organ, okay? So it produces electricity. And the funny thing is, our heart can produce 50 to 60 times more electricity than our brain. I mean, think about it. Yeah, we all know, okay, brain function, there are lots of neurons firing away, and yes, okay, these signals are electricity, yeah, electricity is running through our brain, and we have all these neurons firing, and there's a lot of activity, a lot going on, and there must be a lot of electricity in the brain. But no, the heart actually produces 40 to 60 times more electricity than our brain. And the funny thing is, because it's so much, we actually have a magnetic field around us that comes from the heart. Okay? We have a magnetic field around us that comes from the heart. And it's not something like, oh, aura or energy field. No, it's something measurable. It's something measurable that we can actually measure with very simple instruments that basically tell us there's an electric magnetic field around us which extends about 3 feet or 1 meter, yeah, everywhere around us. And that's so interesting, because what people don't realize is magnetic fields carry information. Yeah, magnetic fields carry information. So, for example, take your mobile. Your mobile works with electric fields. It exchanges information, because when you want to ring somebody, you use your mobile, you use the electricity, the magnetic field, to communicate to the other person. Yeah? And in the same way, our heart is using the electric field, the magnetic field, to communicate with other people. Haven't you had the feeling, for example, when you walk into a room and people had just a major argument, and you're feeling really at unease because you're saying, oh, there's thick air in the room, I'm not feeling well here. And you actually feel that because you feel the magnetic field of the other people, and you exchange the information, and you feel not right here because something just happened that, yeah, you get this information, okay? Or the other way around. You join a group and they're really in their element, they're in the here and now, they're enjoying themselves, communicating with each other, and there's laughter and so on. You feel that information in the field. You say, oh yeah, I want to join this group, this is fun here, this is really cool, I like that, I want to take that energy, I'm feeling well here, it's amazing. And isn't that cool? I mean, we use our heart to communicate without words. Yes, we are communicating without words. And I find that interesting, because I think that's the way children, for example, communicate with other children. Yeah? They may not speak the same language, but they speak the language of the heart. And they don't need to know the same language, but they just, hey, we are kids, we want to play, we want to have fun. That's unique. I mean, that everybody wants that, right? So it's really, really cool. I love thinking about the heart and what we actually feel with the heart and what we express with the heart. Yeah, talking about compassion, appreciation, caring, love. It's abundance. Yeah, it comes all from the heart, and I find that so magical, so great. Okay, well, that's it for today's video. So let me just quickly recap. We talked about, the interesting thing, how the heart actually comes into being, and that it just starts beating just on its own when new life, comes to life. And we also spoke about the 4 different ways of communication of the heart. Yeah? So the first one being actually the nervous system of the heart. Just think about it. Our heart is communicating much more with the brain than the other way around. Second one, the biophysical way of communication via the blood pressure, the beating of the heart, changes the blood pressure in our arteries, in our veins, and that actually has an influence on each cell in our body. The third way of communication, actually, our heart is a hormonal system, and just think about, the bounding with oxytocin or atrial peptide as a stress response to actually reduce stress in our life. Isn't that wonderful? And the 4th wave of communication, our heart produces a magnetic field all around us that carries a lot of information. So we can feel with our heart a lot more than we think. So I invite you to explore this a little further. Can you actually find certain qualities in your heart that you want to expand on? Just think about that for a moment. Well, that's it for today. Next week, we're gonna explore the heart a little bit more. This time then talking about nutrition for the heart. And yeah, I hope you have a really cool, enjoyable week until we see us next time. Bye!